Hello, and thank you so much for being with us on this Tuesday, August 12th. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti, and this is Weather Out West, the hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. You'll find forecasts from our meteorologists in the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, and California to Arizona in the Southwest. It's mid-August, and as expected, heat is the focus for all of us along the West Coast as a ridge of high pressure stays strong over the Pacific. We start today in the Pacific Northwest, where high heat and fire risk remains the focus in eastern Washington. Let's get to meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. Today, a weather impact alert day for eastern Washington due to the high heat. We've also expanded that into Wednesday as well. So it's been a hot start to this week. And oftentimes what happens during our heat waves is the final day of that heat wave, while it might not be the hottest day, could very well be one of our windiest days. So we do have high heat once again today with temperatures 94 to 104 degrees. But we're going to add Wednesday into the weather impact alert day designation due to higher fire danger conditions. So here's the update on all the alerts across this region here. Heat advisories for now the second straight day for Spokane as well as Pullman, Washington, and all of North Idaho as well. But extreme heat warnings, the more severe of these two criteria, expanded to include a few more locations. That would include Lewiston, Idaho, as well as most of central Washington, Moses Lake, Wenatchee, and Chelan, now added to the extreme heat warning. These locations are likely to hit 100 degrees or higher, with southern Washington and the Tri-Cities area to be the hottest among all of that, close to almost 105 degrees for today. So again, second straight day of this very high heat. Now tomorrow we're still going to be in the 90s, but the difference here is that we'll have a windier day for eastern Washington. Because of that, we have high fire danger. These are considered fire weather watches. This is the day before the activation, of which it'll get upgraded into the red flag warning criteria by the time we get to Wednesday morning. So we'll be concerned about that critical level of fire danger conditions because of the dry and windy weather combo overall. Wouldn't be our first red flag warning, probably not our last for the season here. So anything you can do to mitigate any fire danger conditions is certainly very recommended, including respecting burn bans especially. Today, though, it's all about the heat for eastern Washington. 96 is actually hotter than it was on Monday by just a couple more degrees. We'll be among some of our hottest days so far this year, though we haven't hit 100 degrees. We also haven't hit a record high recently. So it's been pretty hot, but not quite to those extreme levels. But you do see the areas that are going to see triple digits. Omak in northern Washington, Grand Coulee, Moses Lake, all of these eastern Cascade Slope communities, Chelan, Wenatchee, and Yakima at around that 100 to 102 degree mark, with Richland, the Tri-Cities, up to 105 for this afternoon. Again, this is about 10 degrees above average, kind of in that realm. The record today stands at 99. One of our lower records for the month of August, so we're within touching distance, but probably won't quite get to that mark. It has been that case all summer long. Some of the computer model maximums have been around 99, 100 degrees, but we have just not realized that. However, if you are going to be in the downtown core of Spokane, or really most communities, just remember, in the direct sunlight and with all of the concrete and blacktop, it is going to be hotter. The urban heat island effect can oftentimes make it as much as 10 degrees hotter than just the outright forecast will be. Again, that forecast 96 today. Hottest so far this season in Spokane has been 97. Now beyond that, let's cover the wind speeds for Wednesday, which will increase to 20 to 30 miles per hour. Again, strong enough to prompt likely red flag warnings for this Wednesday in advance of our next storm system. This cold front not providing any rain to the region, just wind, and that's why the fire danger is going to be elevated. Now beyond that, it will finally cool off. 80s and even 70s in time for the weekend, with a second storm system that gives us our first rain chance in a while, but just chances for rain on the eastern side of the state.
Similar heat is sizzling Oregon nearby. Meteorologist Rod Hill is in Portland with details on the heat wave that continues to pummel Oregon as well.
From a hot rose city for a third straight day, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. This is the first heat wave of 3 days in a row this summer that Portland will be 90 or better, and we've been 99 the last 2 days, and I've got us at 98 today, so it's been really consistent. Our capital city has hit 100 degrees the last couple of days. May not do that today, but we'll be close. So on our heat wave, which is our overwhelming big story, the warning area remains the same from our friends at the Weather Service. This darker kind of pinkish tone from south of Eugene up through Portland, up into Clark County, which is Vancouver, under the extreme heat warning. The orange colors are heat advisories, including Kelso, Longview, where it will be in the 90s, but not way up into the 90s, generally low to mid. And the heat warning for potential temperatures nearing 100 includes the gorge out into the Dalles, where it was 105 in the Dalles yesterday out in Wasco County. And then 100-degree temperatures potentially down through our resort areas in central Oregon. The new player is this brighter tone. That's a red flag warning for high fire danger, which seems obvious, right? It's been really hot. It's been really dry. Any machinery working in a dry, grassy field could easily throw a spark that could get out of hand in a hurry. So please keep that in mind if you're down in our parts. I mentioned some of the high temperatures. Here's the list of our main reporting sites in the region. Salem 102 yesterday, McMinnville 101, Troutdale 100. That was back-to-back days of hitting 100. PDX, I mentioned, back-to-back days stopping at 98. Hillsboro 98. Astoria, back-to-back days in the low 80s along our north coast. The coast actually starts cooling off today. No more 80s at the beach. Temperatures will be doing well to be up to 72, 74 at most. High pressure ridge is what we call as forecasters going to flatten today. You've got this flow of weather fronts up to the north, and it's looking increasingly likely that we will see a couple of pretty wet days on Friday into Saturday. The only thing we're watching today, early morning fog banks, mainly our central beaches and places like Newport, Yaquina Bay, could actually be stuck in the fog today. We'll see if you folks clear or not. Here's Timberline, where it was at 6,000 feet, 81 yesterday, and could be close to 80 again up at the lodge today with clear blue skies. That's what's left of the Palmer snowfield. Of course, we'll be melting snow all the way into the first part of October, so we'll see what we have left or not by the time that rolls around. 70's early number up there, again on the way back up to about 80 degrees this afternoon. Our state capitol building, where it's been one of the hot spots in the Willamette Valley the last couple of days. As I mentioned, you folks might stay just shy of 100 today, and there is Portland with the clear blue skies. Futurecast, we're going to get into some rapid changes. This does show some cumulus clouds popping over Baker City later today out east. Maybe some fog that lingers around Newport, as I mentioned. Otherwise, we're sunny today. Here is the visible change of a cooler air mass. This is tomorrow morning. Marine push of low clouds up and down the coast, and maybe a weak push of low clouds coming up at Columbia to Portland. If we get that, that's definite a visual clue that the heat wave is over, and we'll be quite a bit cooler. I've got tomorrow at 83 in Portland. Then cloudiness Thursday morning. Temps could hold in the 70s. And here's that rain coming in Thursday night, and then measurable rain at times in our area on Friday and Saturday. Now, weather models this far out often show you too big of rain projections because the resolution of the modeling is not fine yet. So I would expect these numbers to lower, but still Portland is in that quarter to maybe a half of an inch of rainfall over 2 days upcoming. So some forecast numbers getting up to about 70 at the beach today. Cooler if Newport has the fog lingering. Valley forecast numbers show Salem at 99 degrees, and I've got Portland at 98 with our KGW weather impact alert. Tomorrow 80s, Thursday 70s. There's the rain at times on Friday and on Saturday.
Thanks, Rod. And you heard Thomas earlier mention the highest level of alert and extreme heat warning in eastern Washington. We also have an extreme heat warning in other parts of the West Coast as well. Still ahead, we'll take you to Arizona and Colorado with those forecasts. Welcome back. This week, Arizona is bracing for all of the summer extremes, extreme heat, and the threat of the monsoon. Ginger Jeffries is in Phoenix with the timing of it all.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. A look at your weather out west across the great state of Arizona, where we have been sizzling. In fact, National Weather Service now extending our extreme heat warning through midweek, but then some major changes are going to close out the work week. And this is the best way to lay it out for you. I mean, look at this. We've got numbers that are well above the normal range, even though it's not record territory today and tomorrow. And then a sizable drop by our standards. I mean, it's summer, it's the desert, and we're looking for numbers to be not just mild, but below the normal range Friday and Saturday with the help of some monsoon moisture. So let's start here. Extreme heat warning for all the areas you can see here in purple. So basically from Yuma to Vegas, and then also including the Phoenix metro area, we are looking for temperatures that are going to be, between about 108 to possibly as high as 113. For today, I've got numbers stretching between about 109 in Mesa to 112 in Goodyear. And for us this time of the year, okay, it's not totally out of the question. And remember last week we were up at around 118. So while it is extreme, it's not record territory, at least not this week. No 115s on the docket, even though we'd really prefer to see those numbers closer to 105. And again, we're going to get there by the time we close out the work week. So look at some of this extreme weather. Havasu City, Parker, Quartzsite, Yuma, everybody going to be a little bit above 110 degrees. Even seeing triple digit temps in Sedona. I've got 87 for Flagstaff, 90 in Show Low, 104 in Tucson, and our official high in Phoenix, 111. Now the monsoon meter continues to be on the active-ish side. I mean, 2s and 3s, we're definitely looking for some storms. We saw some hail yesterday in the higher elevations, but most of this is staying on the perimeter. Now, this is going to change as we get into the work week with very active monsoons developing. Futurecast shows through tonight. Okay, look at very isolated, even though we can't rule out a sprinkle here or there. I mean, this not sizable, especially when you see what's coming. As we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, what's going to start happening? High pressure will move out, and that's really going to allow this tropical energy to come inundate the region. Now we're starting to see some more sizable systems. These are collecting a little more convection. And as we get into, here we go, Thursday and into Friday, high pressure moves out. That moisture is able to expand, and we're really going to start to see some increased opportunity. I'm talking about 40% up to 70% of the region in higher elevations will be picking up some measurable rainfall by Friday. Because of that, obviously our temperatures are going to come down. So how's it looking? Well, Friday is definitely the peak of it. For the White Mountains, 60% coverage. We'll be seeing some shower activity. For the high country, we've got 60 to 70%. So bank on some rain through Saturday. And then for Phoenix, we're going to start seeing 30 to 40% coverage by Friday. So all of this is going to work to bring down the mercury. So today, bottom line, sunny, hot. Daytime highs, we're at 111 degrees. Plan your day accordingly. Remember, it's a weather impact alert day. So limit your outdoor exposure, especially after the noon hour. And look at here, we're staying at about 106 through 8 o'clock this evening. So again, just stay hydrated and try to stay indoors. Now, stay alert, because here we go. Lots of monsoon moisture is on the move. We're going to start to see that developing by tomorrow in higher elevations, but getting pretty expansive by Friday into Saturday. As you can see, after a couple days of extreme heat, we're trading that out for some muggy weather with monsoons on the move. Rain is expected in the metro area by Friday.
That is a lot to keep track of. Thank you, Ginger, for that. Colorado is also watching a dry heat that transitions to thunderstorm threats. Our team in Denver is tracking that timing there, plus how wildfires already burning are impacting air quality in Colorado.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News weather impacting meteorologist Kathy Sabin, and we are in the midst of summer, beautiful summer. We're also talking about wildfires and also occasional cloud cover. Haven't had a ton of rain lately, but things may be changing for us as we kind of move into the weekend. High pressure becoming our dominant feature, which means the storm track stays north. That warm, dry air sinks down and just stays in place over Colorado. Yesterday, we had a little weather system cross the state, so there were a couple of showers in southeastern Colorado. Colorado, watching a front to the north of us that may also help to keep temperatures below the average of 88 degrees. The heaviest showers in the next 48 to 72 hours will be south and east of us. That high pressure dome keeps us warm and dry, and that severe weather threat remains pretty low with kind of that garden variety thunderstorm risk. Now, there may be enough moisture today that with heating of the day, we see 1 or 2 storms come into Telluride and Salida, Alamosa, and Trinidad, tracking from the north toward the south and a little bit toward the southeast. But I think the trend for Denver will be for dry weather this week. And we're watching the plume of smoke as we track 10 wildfires across our state. The smoke and haze really dense and thick over the weekend. Today and tomorrow, we'll see most of that smoke west and south, leading to an unhealthy air quality situation for mainly the western slope. Denver had an air quality alert earlier in the week. We don't know that that will be reinstated, but wildfire smoke creating issues across the Grand Mesa and the Northwest Plateau. Temperatures today close to the average, a dry day for us. Record territory Wednesday and Thursday, highs close to 100. The records are 99 and 100 on Wednesday and Thursday. We have a little bit of moisture coming in for an isolated storm Friday afternoon and Saturday, but temperatures trend in the upper 80s and low 90s through the weekend into early next week.
It's been bone dry across the mountains. We've had a monsoon over the last 6 weeks. Now, the monsoon season usually begins for us in Colorado early to mid-July. It's still really not gotten underway for us here in Colorado, and so that's why you see some of these huge rain deficits across the mountains. Since July the 1st, the approximate beginning of monsoon season, most definitions mid-July, but just for the sake of argument, take me here for a bit of longer window. We're about half of where we should be in Craig. In Durango, look at this. This is our second driest July the 1st through August the 11th on record, with barely 0.6 of an inch of rain, usually averaging more than 2 inches in that time span. Grand Junction, again, about a fraction, less than a quarter of what you should get since July the 1st for our friends out on the western slope. And here's the reason why. So here's the overall setup. When we talk about the monsoon, usually we've got an area high pressure, somewhere over here, area low pressure that develops, and that is our seasonal reversal of winds. And that draws up moisture from 2 different sources. And the result is that we get widespread showers and storms for us in Colorado. Problem is, this area high pressure has been mostly over here, a little bit too far to the west, or sometimes straight up centered over Colorado, which is basically that area high pressure has essentially acted as a stop sign for preventing all that moisture from reaching us here in Colorado. New Mexico's had a lot of moisture so far this monsoon season. We just have not seen that here at home in Colorado. So the monsoon, yeah, most of the mountains way below average precipitation. And of course, that goes back longer than just the summer. This goes back to May, to April, and in most cases in the mountains, a pretty subpar snow season for us. So this is now starting to get into more of a medium-term drought for us in the mountains. That persistent high, no moisture, and that high's just been positioned in the wrong area, and that's kept us on the dry side. And this follows, as I mentioned, a dry spring, and in most cases, especially in the northwestern part of the state, a very dry winter for us as well. Hence the monsoon.
Really interesting explanation. Thank you, Chris. Up next, we'll head back to the Pacific Northwest, where heat continues. But as you've already heard our team of meteorologists mention, relief is on the way later this week. Seattle and Boise's forecasts are next. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Let's now go back to Washington, where hot temperatures continue just a little bit longer. Meteorologist Rich Marriott is tracking the last stretch of heat in the Seattle area before conditions calm down significantly.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott, and boy, another hot day headed our way today. This should be the last of our heat wave, which really kicked in on Sunday, and we're going to be looking for those temperatures over much of the area to be at their hottest today. We did kind of peak out up there around some of the northern counties, around areas up towards Whatcom County. In fact, at 89 degrees in Bellingham at the airport there, which is unusually hot for them. They're going to cool a little bit, but once you get down towards Snohomish County and southward, we're going to be looking for temperatures to probably crank up a couple degrees today and really peak out anywhere from the upper 80s into the low to mid 90s, which is a very hot day around Puget Sound. One of the places that's going to be a little bit cooler is right there on the shores of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Temperatures should only get into the mid 70s there around the Port Angeles area. And you can see there in Bellingham, they'll be cooling off from that near 90-degree reading they had yesterday, probably into the low to mid 80s today. And see, it's looking pretty nice. Blue sky and blue water looking pretty attractive. There's been a lot of boat traffic out of the harbor, as you might expect. Checking the Columbia Tower cam, you can see a little bit of that wildfire smoke haze that we've been seeing coming out of that fire by Lake Cushman. It continues to kind of impact our visibility, but not impact our air quality very much. So it's a good trade-off to have that. And taking a look out at Westport, you can see a little hint of some of that wildfire smoke. And we have seen some offshore winds kind of blow that out of the Olympics and out towards the coastal areas this morning. However, we're going to be switching to onshore as we head towards later on today. That is going to blow that out of there and pretty much clean it out of western Washington as we head towards later today, and especially as we head into tomorrow. Looking at those temperatures overnight, the low temperatures actually got a little bit cooler than they did yesterday morning. They dropped down to 66 degrees out of the airport. Yesterday it only dropped down to 69 degrees, which set the record for the warmest low temperature for August 11th. But today they cooled a little bit more, but unfortunately that is going to prevent them from getting just a little bit warmer today. Our first alert 7-day forecast, you can see last hot day, first alert weather day today. Because of that, we are going to be looking for a big cool down as we head towards Wednesday. 10 to 20 degree cooling for most of the high temperatures tomorrow, and then staying in the comfortable range it looks like on through the weekend. Importantly, we might even get some significant rain as we head towards Friday, and it's been a while since we've gotten a good wetting rain, and that one might be our first one for since maybe back in May. First alert weather day on through 10 o'clock tonight because of those hot temperatures this afternoon in the 80s to the low to mid 90s. Hottest is going to be roughly from about Seattle southward down to the South Sound and then out towards the Cascade foothills. It's where you're going to see those hottest temperatures as usual. There will be a little relief right there along the Washington coast and right on the shores of the strait and up in the San Juans today, but everybody else having a pretty hot day. National Weather Service has a heat advisory in place for most of western Washington until 10 o'clock tonight, and east of the Cascades, on the east slopes of the Cascades, they have a heat advisory out there until 8 o'clock tonight. They're looking for some triple-digit temperatures over there on the east side of the Cascades. We do have some warm evenings and actually a clear evening tonight, so a chance to get out and watch the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. It can be up to 25 to 75 meteors in an hour, but this year we do have some bright moonlight. Just past full moon, it's rising between about 9 and 10 o'clock, and with that, we are going to be looking for that to probably drown out some of the dimmer meteors, so you won't see quite as many, but still, it's a very active shower, and it frequently has some fireballs, which you'll be able to see even with the moonlight. And even though they were their closest yesterday and this morning, they'll still be very close together in the morning sky. Jupiter and Venus, easy to pick out. They're the brightest planets in the sky, so you'll pick those out very easily. Take a look at the satellite image. You can see that smoke from the Bear Gulch fire there kind of spreading out towards the coast, and also some coming down off of Vancouver Island. But if we take a look at the smoke models, you can see that stays pretty much out there along the coast and then starts to get blown away as we head towards later on today. So looking pretty much at good air quality everywhere as we head towards this afternoon around Puget Sound. So good news there. In our extended forecast, so today sunny and hot, those temperatures in the 80s to low to some mid 90s. Tomorrow we drop way off, mid 70s. It's going to be a partly sunny day. We'll be looking for more clouds moving in on Thursday. In fact, only some sun breaks. Showers should move in later in the day on Thursday. Right now, Friday looks like a wet day. We could see anywhere from a quarter to maybe a half an inch of rain total out of this front that moves through on Friday, and highs only struggling up into the upper 60s, it looks like. As we head into Saturday, decreasing showers, should see clearing during the day. High temperatures in the low 70s. Looks like maybe a lingering shower Sunday, just a couple of showers left over in mid 70s. Then as you head back to work, it looks like sunshine in mid 70s Monday, and it looks like we'll be staying mostly in those 70s on through the following week.
Now that is a huge difference. That relief is also on the way in Idaho. Triple digits hang on just a little bit longer before great cooling arrives. Hector Mendoza is in Boise with the forecast.
Hello, I'm Hector Mendoza here at KTVB forecasting here in Boise, Idaho. And we had some hot temperatures yesterday, as we have pretty much across the Pacific Northwest. But see, these are some of the temperatures that we sat at yesterday on our Monday afternoon. 96 degrees here in Boise, into the upper 90s across the Treasure Valley, up into the high country, upper 80s and well into the 80s for many spots, and near 90 for Jerome and right at 90 degrees for Twin Falls. And today we're anticipating even hotter temperatures, as they'll climb up a couple to a few degrees as we get on towards this afternoon. Again, this is going to be the system that brings in those drier conditions and brings us those very warm temperatures for this afternoon and back into the triple digits. So as we look at the things that we have on our way, we're feeling hot through the middle of the week. But then as we get on into Thursday, we're going to start to see those temperatures start to tumble just a little bit, get back to more seasonable territory as we get on into Thursday. And that's where we sit at as we wrap up the work week. The other thing we are paying attention to is some moisture that's coming in that could bring a chance for some isolated mountain storms that could come along for this weekend. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. But as we talk about some of the hot temperatures that we are expecting, we have seen that this heat advisory has expanded all the way through across the entire Treasure Valley through the rest of this evening, and we're seeing portions of southeast Oregon as well in that shaded up orange, seeing that heat advisory into place, as we are seeing triple-digit heat here in the Treasure Valley. Other spots may not hit triple digits, but it's going to be a hot day out in the mountains and even here in portions of the Magic Valley. But as we talk about some of those dry conditions, where has the rain been? Since March 1st, we've only seen a little under 2.5 inches of precipitation, which normally we're hitting closer to around 5 inches of precipitation from March all the way in through July. And the last time we saw any measurable precipitation was back on July 9th, and it was absolutely nothing, as we saw there. And as we look on ahead into the next couple of days, bone dry here in the Treasure Valley, as we are going to continue to see in the forecast 0 to no chance for precipitation as we get on through Wednesday, through Thursday, and in through the weekend. So again, that's something we're anticipating, at least here in the Treasure Valley. Could see some moisture make its way on through as we get on into Wednesday and Thursday in portions of the Treasure Valley and southern Twin Falls County into the Owyhee Mountains as well. But again, here in the Treasure Valley, not really seeing much of that moisture make its way on through. So as we look at portions of the mountains and look at the 7-day, we're going to see low 80s pretty much today, tomorrow, and into Thursday. We're going to see those temperatures drop just a little bit there into Friday and Saturday, and then we stay pretty on par and not really much day-to-day change until we get on into Tuesday of next week, with temperatures climbing back up into the mid-80s. We look at the Twin Falls area and we come down into the upper 80s from the mid-90s from Wednesday into Thursday, and that's where we pretty much stick out with lots of sunshine again, except for Thursday, as we are anticipating seeing some of those cloudy skies, maybe a chance for some thunderstorms and some showers that do come along in southern Twin Falls County specifically. But we are going to see that most of that starts to dry out as we get towards the weekend and into the beginning of next week. And that's pretty similar here as we hit triple digits. 101 is what we're expecting here in Boise, 103 out in Mountain Home and other spots in the Treasure Valley, upper 90s as we get on through Wednesday. And then we head on into Thursday and we see those seasonable temperatures return back into the low 90s, maybe about 1 to 2 degrees shy of that normal temperature, which normally we head around those low 90s here in Boise. And that's pretty much what we're expecting to stay around as we get on into Saturday and Sunday. We expect to continue those conditions there into the low 90s into Monday. And the one thing that doesn't change across the 7-day forecast is going to be that sunshine that is going to be bright and blazing into the next couple days. So making sure to stay hydrated and finding some shade today and through Wednesday is going to be very crucial to keep safe from some of the heat.
Thanks, Hector. When we come back, we have your forecast in the Golden State, from northern to southern California. And later on, an incredible meteor shower is peaking tonight. Details on how to best view it the next few days. Plus, Kelp in Puget Sound is in trouble, so Washington State is stepping in. How their first-of-a-kind Kelp protection zone is helping protect the species. Welcome back. One county, but so many different microclimates. San Diego County is keeping an eye on a marine push along the coast, all the way to triple-digit heat in the deserts. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is tracking the details from San Diego.
Happy Tuesday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Here's what it looked like earlier from our mission-based sky cam, facing a very popular destination for many tourists, I'm sure, SeaWorld. And what you're looking at closer to the screen, that's Fiesta Island there. And that's actually where we also have a fun event happening every summer, which is called Over the Line. So in case you're ever visiting San Diego during that time, around the months of June and July, you can look into it. Really fun to attend. All right, so watches, warnings, and advisories. There are a slew of them blanketing much of the West Coast, all due to the extreme heat in some cases. We have excessive heat warnings as well as heat advisories as we zoom on into the San Diego County region. We are still under an extreme heat warning, not as widespread as it has been over the past few days. It's now confined to the desert portions, and it was actually extended. It's been extended for a few times now since last week, and it's set to expire tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. We're still expecting highs soaring anywhere between 110, 113 or so. All right, here's what we have on tap for today's highs along the coastal areas. It will be pretty toasty for spots like Oceanside. That's usually one of our warmer neighborhoods along the coastal spots. And meanwhile, we'll average mid to low 70s from Carlsbad all the way down to about the South Bay. Much warmer, about 5-10 miles inland. We will be averaging highs in the mid 80s. Escondido hitting a high of 85 later on today. 84 in Poway, 92 in Ramona, close to 90 degrees in Palomar Mountain, 90 for a forecast high out in Julian, and the deserts will produce highs anywhere between 110 to 115. So that's why we're looking at that extreme heat warning still in effect. Here's what I have on tap for tomorrow's highs. So temperatures are going to be pretty comparable when it comes to the coastal areas throughout the entire work week. Minimal daily changes, as well as for the inland valleys. What we saw yesterday, we'll see comparable conditions today as well as tomorrow. It's towards the end of the week when we start to feel that noticeable cooling. So the mountain areas will produce highs in the low 90s today tomorrow. And for the desert areas, we'll drop a couple of degrees, but it's still going to be very warm, topping out anywhere between 110 to 112. All right, so here's what it looks like over the next 5 days for interior parts of the county, specifically for the inland valleys. Daytime highs are going to slowly start to climb down the ladder of temperatures. We'll go into the high 80s to this afternoon, and then Wednesday and Thursday we'll drop a couple of degrees, and we'll continue to see those temperatures drop. By the time we get to the weekend, we're talking about most of the inland areas averaging low 80s and high 70s. So here's that ridge of high pressure. It's going to weaken. We'll have some cooler air filter in from the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to enhance onshore flow along with cool things down for us temperature-wise. Here's what you need to know as we get your Tuesday going. As I mentioned, the cooling won't be very noticeable until we get to the end of the week into the weekend. Also keep in mind, if you are heading towards San Diego, I don't know, maybe you're arriving today, we're looking at pretty high sets of waves, anywhere between 4 to 5 feet. Isolated sets will be about half a foot or so, and we're also looking at strong rip currents. So of course you want to heed caution if you're traveling to San Diego, or if you're headed towards the beaches across Southern California. Those waves are going to be pretty big over the next couple of days. Coastal areas will be in the mid to low 70s, minimal daily changes over the next 7 days. As we take a look at your 7-day forecast for the inland valleys, we'll be pushing closer to 90 degrees tomorrow, but notice how those daytime highs start to track a little lower towards the low 80s all the way through the weekend, and then temperatures are going to slowly start to rise once we get into next week. Here's a quick look at what to expect over the next 7 days here in San Diego for our mountains and deserts. We'll be in the 90s for a couple of days, 80s by the end of the week, and then near 112 extreme heat continuing for the deserts for one more day.
Thanks, Vanessa. There are similar microclimates in Northern California, and as meteorologist Monica Wood shows us from Sacramento, changes are also brewing in Northern California.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods looking at our northern and central California forecast. Our regional headlines include morning fog and afternoon sun for the coast, which has been pretty much the mainstay throughout summer. Slightly cooler temperatures ahead for the valley, a welcome relief from some of the heat we've been dealing with. Mostly sunny skies in the foothills. And for this year, quite dry, humidity low. Carry that water bottle if you're headed up to the high country doing any hiking or perhaps just enjoying Lake Tahoe. Top 5 warmest highs throughout the region. For Sacramento, you can see they've gone up substantially. Now, we've been kind of sitting right around 100, 102 for our peak heat of the summer. Pretty good compared to what we've been seeing over the past couple of summers where temperatures were topping 110, 111, hitting a high of 102. Not so bad. Most of those August temperatures coming in the last couple of days with some peak heat for the month over the weekend. Looking at our average monthly highs, they actually start to go down quite a bit as we head into September. This is kind of the time of year, though, July into August, when we have our hottest temperatures and our driest conditions. We've gone several months now without a significant wetting rain. This is all about to turn course, though, as we start to edge towards the ending of our dry season and warmest time of the year. Got some great celestial events going on. Had that full moon over the weekend. Heard so many people commenting how gorgeous that full moon is, the sturgeon full moon. Unfortunately, that is going to dim somewhat our best meteor shower of the year, which is the Perseids. We'll have clear skies throughout the valley. As you can see, we'll have those temperatures hovering in the 60s for a large part of the evening. Just a hint of some marine stratus trying to press its way inland. Unfortunately, that moon is still going to be 84% full tonight into early tomorrow when we hit our peak viewing for the meteor shower. Sunset is at 8:03, but again, with that moon 84% full, those meteors are going to be dimmed somewhat from seeing really the dynamic meteors that we can see in some months. Here's a look at our futurecast, and again, we're going to get a little push of that marine air that's going to help to bring down those temperatures, but also give us just a little bit of that marine stratus trying to push its way through the valley Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Not much in the way of thunderstorm activity, though, for this year. That's certainly a welcome relief from what we were seeing with a very active thunderstorm activity throughout this year for a good part of the summer. Here's a look at our Tuesday temperatures. Again, highs are going to be close to 90 for the Tahoe Basin as we head down the hill. We're into the 90s, close to 100 for some areas, but most of us starting to feel a little hint of that breeze. I know it doesn't seem like much. Inland areas are going to be really stuck into the 100s, especially the farther we head from that Delta breeze that comes in from the Bay Area and then just kind of moves its way north and south throughout the valley. As we head into Yosemite, 91 degrees, again, sunny skies all the way to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. Central coastal communities will be feeling the beautiful breeze, 60s for the Monterey Bay Peninsula. As we head inland, though, we're tough to get it over the higher passes and in through the valley. So we'll still be looking at near 100 for places like Paso Robles as well as Los Banos at 100, Gilroy at 86 degrees, Santa Cruz at 72. Bay Area forecast, we're in the 60s for our Tuesday outlook. Inland areas will be getting back into the upper 80s to right around the low 90s. So you can really see how when we get access to that breeze coming in through the Bay Area and it filters in through the capital region, we'll see those cooler temperatures. 60s along the northwest coast here. As we head inland, we're still deep into the 100s and we'll still see highs in the 90s, close to 100 for parts of the Central Valley for our Tuesday. But bigger cooling on the way. We're dropping temperatures into the 90s by Wednesday, right around 90, and then we're right around the low to mid 90s heading in through much of the rest of the work week. By the weekend, we've got some 80s in there.
Thanks, Monica. Still ahead, 2 words you've heard a lot this last hour: hot and dry. Those words dominate the big picture setup as well. Julie Martin joins us with the national forecast and the latest on the hurricanes that are brewing right now. Welcome back to Weather Out West. It is dry across the United States. Meteorologist Julie Martin shows us the lack of rain nationally, plus has the latest information on our current hurricanes brewing.
Well, on this Tuesday, we could see some storms in and around the Great Lakes region. Also, taking a look at an unsettled Gulf Coast, and that's going to be leading to some soggy conditions for the Gulf Coast states. And we will be noticing that heat creeping up as we head into the east. Places like the Mid-Atlantic, you're going to be around 90 degrees. DC, that goes for you. Cleveland at 91. Even in the Northeast there, we've got the 90s from Portland, Maine to Hartford at 93. Not too bad as we head into the Southeast for places like Atlanta and Charlotte, you're going to be in the 80s, as well as Knoxville. We've got the 90s in St. Louis and Indy, and the hot spot out here in the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon, 96 degrees. That is exceptionally hot, even for August in Portland, 112 here in Phoenix. So our watches and warnings are pretty much confined to the Pacific Northwest, with those heat watches and warnings and advisories noted here in orange and in red. So yeah, take it easy. I know a lot of folks don't have AC in the Pacific Northwest, so this is exceptionally hot weather for you. In terms of the rainfall forecast over the next couple of days, looks like we're probably going to see the most rainfall eastern half of the U.S., and most of that's going to be in places like the mid-Atlantic, like the South. Florida, you will stay very soggy over the next several days. Our severe weather threat is low. We're at a level 1 out of 5, and those storms are likely going to be confined here around Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes, southern Wisconsin, of course, where we just had so much rain and flooding, so we don't need any more of that. Let's go to the tropics now. We are watching a few areas. Now, the good news here, these yellow areas you see, this one, and the one here in the Gulf, don't have to worry about those. Those have a very low chance of development. However, we now have Tropical Storm Erin well off in the Atlantic, coming off the African coast. This storm is expected to intensify into a hurricane over the next several days, and these are the models taking it in general in the vicinity north of Puerto Rico by about Saturday of next week. Now, where it goes from there and if it will have any impacts on the mainland U.S. remain to be seen. Stay tuned. We will keep you posted. All right, let's head west now. These are your temperatures for Tuesday. 92 in Seattle. We'll see 94 in Sacramento. Triple digits there in Phoenix. Here in Denver, we'll see 89 with sunny skies. Hot in Texas with those mid to upper 90s. And then into the southeast we go. Some storms heading your way in Charlotte, Atlanta, even in Tampa. Temperatures not too bad for you there in Charlotte and Atlanta. We'll see 90 in New Orleans. Taking a look here at the Twin Cities, a beautiful day for you at 82. Hot in Buffalo at 91. Indy and DC also topping out around 90 degrees.
Thank you, Julie. Still ahead after the break, the underwater plant Kelp is dying off in Washington's Puget Sound, prompting some new protections. When we come back, why revitalizing this underwater forest is so important. Washington State is taking steps to help kelp, and it's about more than just seaweed. The once thriving underwater forests of Puget Sound are disappearing, and it's putting salmon, orcas, and entire ecosystems at risk. Drew Mickelson from King 5 in Seattle shows us the new protections taking shape both above and below the water.
Chris Peters grew up boating around Squaxin Island near Shelton.
I do it every time. I don't care what the tide is. Just get a good habit.
He'll never forget the family rule.
Our dad would take us around this tip every time, and it would tell us exactly where the kelp are. Avoid the kelp.
There's still kelp here, but not like it was just a decade ago.
Some kelp crab out there too.
Kelp crabs cause damage. Rising temperatures, cloudier water, and invasive species aren't helping. The Squaxin Island tribe estimates they've lost 80% of the plant species that used to be all over this part of South Puget Sound.
If they were to die off, it would have a negative effect on our salmon, it would have a negative effect on our orca, have a negative effect on us. And so it's incredibly important that we protect them.
We've been watching it die year after year after year.
Peters is the tribe's chair.
So ordered.
They entered an agreement with the state's Department of Natural Resources to prohibit the leasing or development of any land near kelp beds, as well as banning aquaculture. Moves the state's lands commissioner says should help bring back kelp.
We have the capability as a people in Washington State to make sure we're not the generation that loses the iconic orca, the iconic king salmon, and that's what today has been about.
The more education we get out there, I think the more people will buy into it and understand, hey, yeah, we do need to protect these things.
Peters says the tribe may add buoys with warning for boaters to stay away and post signs for waterfront homeowners and boaters reminding them to keep the water clean, to still take in the Northwest's beauty, but with awareness, just like his dad taught me.
that's one of the joys of living in this area, is that we get to see that and feel that. But there's a responsible way to do it. We need to respect it and be stewards and continue to teach those lessons.
The Squaxin Island Protection Zone is the first of many coming to the state of Washington. There are 350 acres now protected here, but the Department of Natural Resources plans on implementing these changes across 10,000 acres up and down Puget Sound. For Environment Northwest, I'm Drew Mickelson.
Thank you, Drew. All right, now this is for everybody. Finally, today, make sure you look up the next couple of nights. The Perseid meteor shower is peaking. So this meteor shower is going to peak tonight, but it will be visible through the end of August. We have the potential to see at least a few dozen, potentially up to 100 meteors possible. We've had some of our meteorologists mentioning this. So the Perseids are bits of rock that enter our atmosphere and essentially vaporize. This comes from a comet. The comet goes around the sun. We go through the comet's tail and catch that debris. However, you've heard some people talking about it. The moon was full over the weekend, so that bright glow will hinder it a little bit. So what you can do actually is wait until next week to try to view the Perseids. That does it for us on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. Thanks for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow.